Hey everyone, so I'm doing a bit of a different setup today because there's a big box where I usually put my camera. So what I'm doing is I'm sitting where my brother does his homework. Okay, listen everyone, there's two viruses going around at once, the coronavirus and the cancel virus.
Now the main difference between these two viruses is that humans can catch the coronavirus while events capture the cancel virus due to the coronavirus. Cancel virus has already claimed many victims, including South by Southwest, Too Many Games, and E3.
Well, I guess that means that every company will be doing digital presentations this year for E3, but that got me thinking. What was E3 like at the beginning?
E3 in its infancy wasn't as big or overly ambitious as it is now. I mean, nowadays we have Microsoft showing off a car because they own the Forza IP. Back then they were more like a traditional press conference, business and stuff.
So in this video we'll be going in-depth on the press conferences for Nintendo, Sony, and Sega, or at least as in-depth as I can, while the third parties like 3DO and Atari will just be getting quick segments.
Okay, yes, I know I said I was gonna go in depth on the big three at the conference this year, but going in depth on the Nintendo conference is hard to do when I can sum it up this easily. Nintendo 64 delayed, Virtual Boy is coming out to hold fans over.
Oh, I wonder how that will turn out.
And the rest of the conference is just a call-out post on me.
Okay, Nintendo, I get it. I use Dolphin, I use RetroArch, I use Citra. Can you stop making fun of me?
Sega's conference this E3 was mainly about the Sega Saturn, aka 17 million units sold. Sega actually showed off quite a few games for the Saturn and even Comic Zone on the Genesis. This is way better than Nintendo making me feel bad. So how did they mess it up? Well, I'm gonna ask you guys. What did the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and pretty much any console from the last 30 years have in common? If you guess they smell like alcohol, then you should be cleaning your consoles. But all these consoles had their release date announced beforehand, except for the Saturn. At this E3, Sega announced that the Saturn had already been released the day before the press conference, which basically led to a console nobody bought.
We started our rollout of the Sega Saturn yesterday.
Sony had a very simple press conference with a very simple goal. Their goal? Make Sega obsolete. What their conference was? Telling us why the PlayStation was being created. Did they succeed at their goal? Yes. How?
Stop asking so many questions!
The moment Sega said,
"Am not owned. Am not owned. I continue to insist as I slowly shrink and transform into a corn cob,"
was when Sony announced that the PlayStation would be $100 less than the Sega Ashtray. The 3DO conference was showing off the M2 console, which was later cancelled. If you think that game studios using fake gameplay in their trailers is a new thing, I'll have you know that 3DO was doing it back at the first E3. Atari showed off the Jaguar VR, which ended up being cancelled.
So that was the first E3, and it's obvious that E3 is different nowadays than it was back then, which is good. You don't want to keep doing the same thing over, and over, and over.